I came into comics because I wrote a novel called Boy Proof, which is a young adult novel about a girl who's obsessed with comic books and post-apocalyptic science fiction films. And DC Comics Vertigo was looking to do an all-girl lot, like a comics line for girls, and they really wanted to get someone from the YA world. Someone had given Shelley Bond my book Boy Proof, where I name check like all these Vertigo comics, and she thought, well, maybe I might be interested in writing comics, and so she called me up and asked me if I'd be interested in that. And I'd always wanted to write comics. I loved comics when I was growing up, and I loved the Vertigo when I was like, in my late teens and early 20s, and that was something that I really thought that that I wanted to do, but I couldn't figure out how you got in, how you entered into that world. And so when she called me up, I was just like, oh my God, okay, I'm gonna do it. Yes, I have 5 ideas. I did the Plain Janes and then the sequel, The Janes in Love, and it was actually supposed to be 4 books, and I had already written the script for book 3, and Jim had drawn 30 pages of it, drawn and inked 30 pages, and then the line was canceled, and so they canceled our 3rd book. I think it's like sort of considered for a lot of ladies a sort of gateway into reading comics, which is what, it's just amazing, as someone who likes comics myself, to like have people say to me, like a lot of women like say, oh, it was the first comic book I ever read, and now I've read, whatever else, and I'm like, oh, thank God. But I think it was more that like, the Minx line was just too early. YA sections in bookstores weren't ready to like have graphic novels in the YA section, and so they were putting them in the graphic novel section. But if you want to get girls who have never read comics to read comics, you can't. They're never going to go to the graphic novel sections. There are some people who've only ever read my comics and have never read any of my novels, and there are some people who've read my novels and never ever read any of my comics. And then there are people who, cross over, and then sometimes I find people who like, they'll be a fan of my novels or whatever, and then I'll say, oh yeah, and I did a comic book called The Plain Janes. Oh wait, you did The Plain Janes? Like, so a lot of times it's like, I think people don't always look at the names. They just go, for art or whatever, and then books, and then they don't put together that it might be someone's body of work.